Alright, this video is going to be XRP analysis. Good old Ripple. I haven't looked at XRP in a while. I don't really trade it. I don't own any of it, and there are a few reasons for that. Why I don't trade it is because if you go down to the lower time frames, even on the higher time frames, it looks like a heart monitor. Like it's just going up and down, but ultimately kind of coming back and staying within this range, which I mean at this point is kind of going diagonally. But, I don't like trading things that trade like heart monitors or like stable coins. I also don't own any of it. And, some simple reasons for that is I just don't see a clear enough setup with good enough risk reward. Is there a good chance that XRP will hit its all time high at some point within the next, year or potentially later if things stray from the typical cycle? I think it probably will. Maybe it doesn't, but I think it probably will. But even if it hits its high from the 2021 cycle, it is, granted that's a great move, 200%. You could potentially 3x your investment. But, a lot of the altcoins that I've been buying recently have, 200% gains that are nowhere close to their all time high. For example, if I go to Algorand, this is the purchase I made on Algorand not that long ago, and a 200% move is, not even close to its all-time high. It has much further upside potential than that just to reach its all-time high. And these are kind of the altcoins that I tend to stray towards just because, if I'm betting on altcoins doing well in the cycle, it makes sense to look for the ones with the best possible risk reward, the best possible upside. And, if I'm buying spot on an altcoin, I'm essentially, I look at it as I'm risking 100%. Any of these could go to zero at any point for whatever reason. The founder could go to prison or whatever. So not only do I look for altcoins with good upside potential, relative to the other Dookie coins, but I also like to find altcoins with good setups. And I think, weekly money flow in the red starting to flow back to the upside, looking like it's going to cross soon. That is pretty good sign that, we may start pumping pretty soon. Whereas with XRP, its weekly money flow is in the green, but, overall we're seeing momentum on a downtrend. Money flow is kind of stalling out at this level. It's looking a lot less clear. And, even when it did get into the red, it was very choppy. It just honestly looks poor, in terms of market cipher B. It is not looking like as clear of a setup as I'm seeing on a lot of other altcoins. So for those reasons, I usually don't spend my time charting and following XRP because I find I don't get many good trade setups, and I'm honestly not that interested in buying spot. Now, sure, it could potentially, go way past this all-time high. I mean, if you did your research and you think banks are going to be using XRP or, whatever people say XRP is going to do, then potentially it could have a lot more upside potential. I try not to make decisions based on fundamental analysis because, well, truthfully, in crypto, that typically isn't the best route unless you're talking about Bitcoin. When it comes to Bitcoin, I think the fundamentals are essential. And when you're talking about a coin in the top 10 in terms of market cap, it takes a lot more money to move these coins. Like for XRP to double, it would essentially have to gain $34 billion dollars approximately. These may change depending on supply or, something like that. I honestly don't know exactly how it works. But when a project is already worth tens of billions of dollars, then, it's just logical that it's going to take a lot more money to cause it to increase in price. But I'm not going to say I'm going to just completely disregard XRP, say XRP gets an X from me and then never look at it again. I think there is potential that, maybe at some point trading conditions become better for this coin. Maybe there are some swing setups to be had because, if I see a good swing long setup and I can have a much tighter invalidation than just buying spot and hoping that it doesn't go to zero, then I would potentially look to swing long this up if, I have a clear enough setup and the confirmations are there. So with that being said, let's do some quick analysis. So first thing, market structure. XRP is still in a high time frame swing downtrend. Technically, the downtrend looks like this because if you zoom in over here, put a horizontal line on this low, you can see that, we didn't touch this low over here, meaning this is not a lower high going from, the all-time high down. So, structure goes from all-time high to low, lower high, lower low. What does that mean? In order to switch this swing structure back to bullish, we got to break above this high right here, which is very close to its all-time high. Not a great place to have a bullish flip present itself, because who's going to be buying up here to target the all-time high? Probably not many people. So really, even though we already came up and touched this kind of lower high already, it was an SFP, so that's not a break. That is, in a sense more bearish than anything, and we already got a big retracement from it. So maybe the effect of this SFP has already played out. But this isn't even really that important of a high. I mean, it is kind of an important high because, you can draw a downtrend from here and say, okay, well, we're at least breaking some kind of structure by getting above this point, and now that we SFP'd it, it would be this point. But even then, that is not really great structure to look at. So let's ignore structure. Let's say it doesn't matter, or at least, the proper structure. Let's take structure from the low up, because, right now it is in an uptrend from this point. Granted, a very poor one, I have to say, because it's, for the most part, just hugging this lower trend line and getting little spikes up above the trend line before coming back down. But it is still in an uptrend. So we have this is a lower high. That's why I marked out this low right here. And we just came down and, wicked very close to this low after the SFP of that kind of lower high. So, yeah, right now I'd say if we lose this low, things look a lot more bearish. And at that point, we are probably coming down to put in a new low, which actually could be more bullish than anything, because that would cause for a bullish flip much sooner than, waiting for this high. Granted, even that is not the best. That's probably about 50% of the retracement. Let me pull out a fib though and check. Let's say we go down to the low of my drawing there. So that high would be pretty close to the 50% retracement. Sure, if you get a break and then a retest, then you could buy at a spot that kind of makes sense. But yeah, my point is, when it comes to structure, things don't look good on XRP. Okay, what about with Market Cipher? So the weekly time frame is looking a bit ambiguous. We have momentum on a downswing, putting in lower highs and lower lows, but money flow is still sticking up here in the green, and it's not looking the strongest. We don't really see clear direction to the upside with money flow, but it is locally pushing its way back up. Maybe it can make a higher high and then kind of begin some kind of upward direction, where we just kind of stalled down in the beginning, but then ultimately it began to really increase and put in higher highs. But that's really just going off of the local move to the upside and money flow. Now we are seeing momentum also locally getting moved to the upside, and price has retraced a significant amount. I'd say we got about as close to breaking structure bearishly as most people would feel comfortable with. But since we didn't SFP this low, we actually put in a slightly higher low, at least on Binance. That makes me think that maybe an SFP this low is coming in the future, just to grab the liquidity that is below this low. But if we aren't going to SFP that low, or maybe if we already SFP'd it on some other high liquidity exchanges, then maybe we just retrace for the higher low, and maybe things can start working their way back up to try and put in a local higher high, and ideally not with another SFP. So we can go down to the lower time frames to try and judge this local move to the upside on the weekly. So let's go down to the daily. And here, it's seeming like there is actually some bullish hope. I like this turn to the downside money flow. I like the overall curvature back to the upside. And it has just crossed into the green and is still putting in higher highs, although it's taking its time, that's for sure. And momentum also putting in higher highs and has gotten above the 60 line. That is a sign of strength. And it is looking to print a green dot right around the 60 line. We can see the VWAP, the yellow oscillator, is curving back to the upside. Granted, it's not the best curvature. We don't see that clear curvature that we kind of like to see. But that doesn't mean that this is going to be a poor cross. In fact, it could make sense that a tight VWAP curvature, as momentum is trying to print a green dot right around the 60 line. That could make sense. Just a little cool off, then a quick turnaround as daily momentum is above the 60 line. So I think a tighter curvature does make sense here, and we saw it kind of have this jagged look to it. Came down, came right back up. Now it is starting to get a bit of local curvature. So it looks like it's trying to turn to the upside, crossover, and print a green dot here. And we can see momentum is also sloping over, looking like it wants to turn back to the upside. So the daily is definitely trying to give some bullishness here. We can see that clearly. Now let's go down to the lower time frames, see if they are backing that up. If they are maybe saying that daily momentum has to cool off a bit more before it tries to push the upside. What are we seeing on the 4-hour? And here I'm seeing things taking a local turn to the downside as price got this aggressive dump and now is trying to rebound, but it's stalling out. And with momentum, first off, taking a vicious turn to the downside, and now money flow starting to turn over locally. It's not the worst looking money flow. We kind of double topped here, and now it's locally starting to turn over. Could this just be some kind of higher low? And we see that thing where money flow just kind of stalls out for a little bit before then going on to put in higher highs. Sure, maybe, but with momentum taking a serious turn to the downside, it's not looking great. I have to say the 4-hour not looking that great for backing up the potential bullishness on the daily. But let's check the 3-hour. Let's see what that's looking like. Again, very similar thing. Momentum coming down. Money flow seemingly putting in a lower high as it's now turning back to the downside. It's actually very close to crossing into the red. We did not put in a lower high overall, but we kind of double topped here. We just barely put in a higher high. And we are seeing more of an aggressive turn to the downside in terms of momentum than we saw over here. Here it was just kind of, a slow decline. This is looking like, momentum is falling off a cliff. And the 2-hour is backing that up with money flow also taking a turn to the downside. 1 hour is also backing that up. So looking like as XRP is trying to recover from this large dump that it had, it is showing weakness, potentially showing further downside. And, maybe that could be a bit of a good thing. Potentially there is a better setup coming in the future. If you're going off of history, this general trend line has held. So maybe getting to move back down to this trend line or around the lows of this local range that is forming could provide a potential trade setup. So let's do a bit of local analysis. I'll change that to green. And let's check the fixed range profile from this high over. And there is potentially some confluence coming up here with the value area low and this trend line. Maybe we work our way back down to these local lows. Maybe we SFP them and try and find support in this general area. And I'd say if we start to lose this value area low, like if we start closing candles below it, there's a good chance that we're probably going to make our way down to these lows. Try and SFP them. And if that doesn't hold again, then I think we will probably come down for new lows. That's kind of my local analysis here. So that's about it for XRP, I think. Again, I think this daily could potentially turn those midterm timeframes around, or maybe they just need to cool off a little bit before the daily really tries to push price up. Because this is some pretty decent looking curvature. It's also putting in higher lows. So potentially we could see this daily momentum direction increase with money flow putting in a higher low and then potentially a higher high. So maybe we don't get that retrace, but the midterm timeframes are kind of pointing to that right now. But I also think it has a lot to do with what Bitcoin does. Bitcoin is at a decision point right now. It keeps SFPing its all-time high, getting an aggressive dump, a lot of selling, and then it starts to range a little bit before it comes up and SFPs again, and then repeat the process. That's what Bitcoin is doing right now. So if Bitcoin ultimately starts rejecting, starts losing key support, and begins retracing, then XRP is probably going to follow. But if Bitcoin continues to range like it is, maybe even tries to break all-time highs and is actually successful, then we'll probably see XRP move up along with a lot of other altcoins. All right, thank you everybody for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like, subscribing, leaving a comment. If you have any suggestions for altcoins you want me to make a video on, leave them in the comments, and I'll try to get to as many of those as I can. And other than that, I will see you all in the next one.